Hey guys, here's a little homework help for problem 4 of week 3's homework. And so we've got a little situation involving rent here, and clearly John's rent appears to be higher than the mean or the average monthly rent at Oxnard University. Question A is asking, what is his standardized Z-score? So the formula for a Z-score, as seen here, I know this can look pretty darn foreign. So first of all, this piece here the Z obviously just stands for the Z-score. And in order to find the Z-score, it's the data point. And in this case, the data point is going to be John's rent. This is pronounced mu, and it represents the mean of the data set, and this sigma is how it's pronounced. What it really represents for what we care about is the standard deviation. So I am going to take this formula and rewrite it kind of in people language, not necessarily math language. Although that's awful to say, of course, you know, mathematicians, we are all definitely people. And that came out really bad. Okay, so now I've written it into a little bit more maybe user-friendly language. So in order to find the Z-score, we are going to take John's rent, which in this case is $1,325. And we are going to subtract the mean, which in this case is $875. And then we are going to divide that difference, once we calculate it in a moment, by the standard deviation. And the standard deviation, again, given to us in the problem, is $219. And again, this is going to give us the Z-score that we're being asked for in problem A. So if I subtract in the top, that is going to give me 450, divide by 219. So if you put 450 divided by 219, you get a pretty crazy decimal that starts, these little squiggly equal sign is another way of saying approximately. So it's like 2.0547, and it goes on and on and on. Now traditionally in Z-scores we round to 2 decimal places. However, your textbook wants you to round to 3. So that's going to be 2.055 if we round it. So part A, the Z-score for John's rent would be 2.055. Okay, so on to part B. Part B asks us, is John's rent an outlier? So remember the guidelines that were given to you in the textbook? Anything that is 2 standard deviations away from the mean, and that means in either direction. So either 2 standard deviations higher or lower, that is what we call unusual. Okay, so it's unusual, but it's not an outlier. What is going to be an outlier is anything that is plus or minus 3 standard deviations from the mean. So again, only 2, which is what John's is, right? Because John is like 2.055. So his is going to qualify as unusual. It's not an outlier until it's 3 or more. So to answer question B, is it an outlier? That would be a good, solid no, because it doesn't meet the threshold of being 3 standard deviations or more away from the mean. And it just occurred to me that I'd better clarify, because I'm not sure I said that right. So it needs to be beyond 2 standard deviations to be unusual. So anything within 2 standard deviations is cool. It's got to be more than 2 standard deviations to be unusual. Not that it really related to this particular problem, but I wanted to make sure there wasn't any confusion. All right, so we know now that John's rent is not an outlier. So part C is asking, how high would the rent have to be to qualify as an outlier? So as we said above, it would have to be 3 standard deviations from the mean. And again, because we're talking about high, that means we're going to be adding a standard deviation. So the mean, in this case, is 875. So we would have to add 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviations, and 3 standard deviations. So that means that a standard deviation is $219. So we would have to add $219 3 times. So if we add all of that together, we get $1,532. So anything $1,532 or higher would qualify as an outlier.